It means that Damian Lillard needs to get the hell up out of Portland. I think that he's done and continues to do all he can as a Portland Trailblazer.
I think it's long overdue, to be honest with you. I think
he's not gonna be. I don't see him being a part of it.
And us building like that's not what I'm here to do, especially at this stage of my career. So.
Big men are essential to winning a championship. You can't win a championship without a big man under the basket, right? Technically you can't. At least that was the notion until 2015 when a point guard by the name of Steph Curry won the Warriors a championship. Suddenly everything changed. With Steph Curry came a lot more talented players in the guard position. James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kyrie, John Wall. If you look up the list of the top 10 point guards of the 2010s, you will more than likely see these point guards I just mentioned. And more than likely, they all deserve it. Most of these players are champions or NBA 75 and have some quality about them that makes them excel in their role. Steph Curry, phenomenal three-point shooter and great off-the-ball player. Russell Westbrook, a crazy athlete and triple-double machine. Kyrie, unstoppable offensively. John Wall, a freakishly fast athlete, and the same will go for the other players I'm showing. However, there's one guy missing in this conversation. Someone who is in the top 75, whether or not most agree on it. This someone is, of course, Dame Lillard, one of the most, if not the most underrated point guard ever. A player whose accolades don't tell the whole story. Dame Lillard is criminally underrated. Dame Lillard, for the majority of his professional basketball career, has always been counted out. No one ever thought he was going to be a great basketball player and even thought he would never be drafted. But his story of greatness starts at a college most people don't know about, Weber State. Weber State, as most would know, was not a well-known college. However, it was here that Dame would learn the work ethic needed to excel in basketball. In Weber State, he would showcase his shooting, passing, and grit for the game, and the 3 years he was in this school would make Wildcat history. Of course, only reason I didn't say 4 years was because he would go and put his name in the 2012 draft, where he would be drafted 6th in the first round by the Portland Trailblazers. Joining Portland as the team prior to his arrival was going through a low point with the tragic injury of Brandon Roy, Greg Oden. The city of Portland needed something to make them competitive as they used to be. From the jump, Dame Lillard was good, averaging 19 points, 6.5 assists, and 3 rebounds, winning the Rookie of the Year award, showing Portland that they had just found their next star to give them hope. This, coupled with LA, Wes Matthews, Nick Batum, all they needed to do was build up chemistry to contend, and we could be looking into a different stratosphere. Dame Lillard started all 82 games with an increase in production, and the team's chemistry looked great. They would finish with a record of 54-28, placing 5th in the West, and would face the Harden and Dwight Rockets. This was Dame's first playoff series ever. Was he going to lay an egg and lose, or could he prevail? Dame Lillard would beat the Rockets in 6 games, an impressive feat for him as well as the team for bouncing back. Portland had their hopes proven right. This was a great year. In the next round, they would face the peak of selfless basketball in the 14 Spurs, in which they were just simply out-talented. This was a season Portland could hang their hats on. To make the playoffs great, but to at least win one was exceeding expectations. The core of LA, Wes, and Dame were forming something great. The Portland Trailblazers were doing okay until Wes tore his ACL in a game against the Mavericks, a heartbreaking injury that only dug the grave that the Portland Trailblazers were in, and it wasn't getting any better. In the first round, they were matched up with the Grizzlies, who unfortunately put them away in 5 games. An unfortunate season with no one to really blame but just sheer bad luck. Unfortunate news would hit the Trailblazers in the offseason as LA would request a trade to the Spurs, something that would completely derail the notion. Some would say a setback. There are multiple reasons speculated to why he left the Blazers. If anything, looking back on this story in 2024, it's not hard to understand that notion, as, well, the guy who became the top guy in the Blazers, the subject of the video, would at least still had Dame, Wes, and a rising star in CJ. Hopefully they can find a way to make it back in the playoffs despite the setback. Dame Lillard and CJ and the gang would will the team to a 44-38 record and would be faced in the first round with the Clippers, who still had the pieces from before and would win 4-2. Would this be the season they could make it to the conference finals? Well, their next opponent was a team everybody knows as the 7-3-9 Warriors. And while Steph was out from injury, this is a team sport, and the Warriors had a 2-1 lead. And then Steph came back and had to find a way to get back in rhythm. After a poor shooting performance, he went nuclear, dropping 40 points. And put the Trailblazers' hopes away with his performance. And it was just like that. The next 2 years of Portland playoff basketball was just tragic at best. And that is because they would get swept 2 times. Once by Golden State in 2016-17, and then in 2017-18 by the Pelicans. and for a moment it seemed like hope was lost. But then, perhaps by some miracle, the 2018-19 season would happen. The team seemed all prime and ready to go, but the injury bug would once again get them, and unfortunately it stung the starting center from the team, Yusuf Nurkic, and once again the team seemed to be crumbling. They would face OKC Thunder and Dame would go nuclear. The team was firing off on all cylinders, despite a loss in the starting rotation, getting a 3-1 lead, and of course Dame would end the series sending a message with the shot. With a bye-bye wave to top it off, the next series is the peak of Portland's time in the playoffs, as it would be a Game 7 dogfight for both sides. These 7 games were so up and down, with one game containing a quadruple overtime, and as Cantor, injured, would still come to play. This was not Denver's time yet, as they would be on the losing side of this series. But after the last 2 years of playoff disappointment, it seemed the team had found their way back in the playoffs and had made their first conference finals ever. Although the KD, Steph Curry, Golden State Warriors were their opponent, KD was injured, and without KD, there was a chance Golden State put them out in 4 games. This would be the last successful season playoff-wise for the Blazers, as next year in Game 1 against the LA Lakers, Dame would injure his groin and the Blazers would lose in 5. And the same fate would happen next year. After this season, the team would sink into playoff irrelevancy. These years would just show how far the team had regressed. The team had traded CJ, Lillard's teammate, since 2013. In an interview, Dame would state that this more or less made the mission of winning in Portland less appealing. Dame Lillard would request a trade from Portland in the 2023 offseason, an event no one ever seen coming, but for Dame was probably a necessary thing, as Portland never had championship aspirations. And it always came down to Dame saving the day, but he would get traded to Milwaukee and join Giannis in a quest for a ring. Dame Lillard is one of those guys that has everything. He works hard, he is good, and hopefully a fully healthy season, him and Giannis can get a ring. Like I said in the beginning, accolades don't tell the full story, and when it comes to players, sometimes this is just really true. And it's especially true in Dame's case. Dame Lillard, in my opinion, deserves to be top 75 and deserves to win that ring. And he has a good shot for once in his whole career with Giannis. All they gotta do is get chemistry and adjustment down and just be healthy. Damian Lillard is one of those players that a lot of players talk good about, and I think him leaving Portland was the right move. Dame is gonna win a ring. Peace.